After waiting many years, my older i7-4820K was showing signs of its aging technology. I'm sure I could have gone a few more years with it, but since I do CAD work, I also wanted to improve my two 27" monitors showing the 3D graphics and expand using a third 4K monitor. I knew my old 4GB GTX 970 graphics card wouldn't do the job as well. I first spent about a full day pricing out a new build at 3 different websites, and no matter how I did it, which would have to include my labor, I couldn't beat the price of this liquid-cooled CyberpowerPC that had the i7-9700K CPU. It has little room to expand, adding more fans and another video card. Search a Nixia 2242W mid-tower gaming case. Emulates many other cases sold here on Amazon like FSPATX mid-tower. Expandable, yet only has room in either remaining drive bays of 2x3. 5 inches or 2x2. 5 inches, and it badly needs more USB ports. I use a 6TB external drive, so I didn't need the 1TB SS drive, too big, and wish they had used the Optane drive feature this MB is capable of when they built it, but I can add up to 2 more M2 type to this board if M key. Did order more RAM to double the 16GB DD4 3000 MHz RAM it came with, but seems to always have 10GB free anyway. No DVD-RW in this, but these days don't need it. I do have an external portable USB type anyway. I have figured out how to OC the video card using the Firestorm software I got from their site. Just try and price out these parts alone. Just the video card is $500 on average, and the CPU is around $400, and this is not the 300 series 9th generation CPU, which scores less in performance, I read. But this is how the unit benchmarked when I got it. Benchmark the 25th of January 2020 user benchmarks. Game 109%, desk 120%, work 107% CPU. Intel Core i7 9700 Kelvins 97. 7% GPU. Zotac NVIDIA Mini RTX 2070S. Super, 114. 8% SSD. ADATA SX6000 LNP 1TB 188. 9% system drive RAM. Unknown TEAMGROUPUD 3000, 2 extension 8GB 96. 4% MBD. This is indeed a great machine. Other than the write speed of the SSD is half what it could be if they had just put a ADATA SX8200 Pro SSD in, for example, and/or with the Intel Optane. In closing, this is a cool PC with this exception of the slow drive. You'll feel the lag when working with files and such. Gaming, it's smooth but with average load time. Lastly, can't say enough about these adjustable cool RGB lights on this unit and the remote that came with it to play with this to your liking. Like, wow! I hope this helped out. The keyboard was inadequate. One of the keys, the F key, was stuck. We tried to move, but when pressed it did not come back up. I'm upset that my son told me I bought this inadequate product for such a high price for one of the keys to get stuck in the first day of using the product. However, the rest of the computer looks fine for now. Is there a possible way to just replace the keyboard? After reported. Today I had received the replacement keyboard, which is working great. Would give this 5 stars, but the PC had the wrong i7 processor in it. Was supposed to be the 9700K but had the 9700F. I am not going to send it back just because of that, because in the long run there is very little difference between the two processors benchmark-wise, but when someone pays over 1K for a product it should have the right components installed. I just received today, so will update if I overlooked anything else missing or wrong. Love this PC. It's my first one ever gaming PC. I love how it's quiet and doesn't make loud fanning noise. I'm a streamer and I can't have too much noise hitting my microphone. I love the sleek black case and the lights on the fans are so neat. Also, it runs my streaming OBS without a problem. I recommend this PC for anyone who is starting out gaming on PC. My previous Asus VR gaming and workstation PC wasn't cutting in anymore. Us VR folk know Half-Life VR is coming out soon, so I needed to upgrade. Picked up this pretty spec'd out Model C series and, so far, this computer is delivering great performance. I couldn't really be happier. The parts they picked are pretty decent, not the best by any means but better than some pre-builds I've seen. Packaging was pretty banged up and had some damage, so I was suspecting to see some damage on the system itself. Sure enough, there was some minor damage to the case. The system itself seems to be running fine so far, although in gaming the system tends to run a bit hot. I don't think they did a good job on cooling the system. Might need to add a few more fans. There should have been at least another case fan on top vent. The RAM is a bit low as well, only 2400 MHz. Maybe 3000 MHz would have been nice. Overall, for the special pricing they had running on this for $1,199, I can't complain or gripe too much. Only time will tell if the system holds up. This is my second CyberpowerPC. First one is almost 3.5 years old and still kicking. Update the 4th of September 2019. Motherboard utility was not installed, so I have to do a temporary hookup of a DVD to load the utilities into the PC. This is a very nice system for the money. It could use a better quality of fans and cooling system. I will change those at a later date. If you ever need to send it to the company for repair, beware, they want you to pay for shipping. Even so, I would still buy this again. My first official gaming tower PC. Wife got it for me for Christmas, Cyber Monday deal. Arrived at my door in one piece with no damage to the box itself. Shout out to USPS for that much. Enjoying it very much. A lot of my Steam library is now running at 4K 60 FPS max settings. It's a beast of a machine. Already have the 1 terabit SSD almost completely full. Looking to expand on that with an internal SSD of 2 or 4 terabytes. The PC itself is whisper quiet even when running the GPU and CPU above 75% capacity when pushing games to their maximums. The RGB is limited to a controller that comes with the PC. The selection of light patterns are alright, with a rainbow spinning pattern, single color and dual color patterns to select from. Maybe some RGB RAM later on down the road. Main components in my build are ASRock C390 Phantom Gaming 4CB motherboard, EVGA RTX 2070 Super Black, Team T-Force Vulkan 16GB DDR4, X2 8GB sticks, and i7-9700K as advertised. The GPU is capable of SLI, so maybe another 2070 Super just to be that guy. The boot time is super fast as well, which makes doing restarts not so much a pain anymore. If you're not comfortable with building your own PC like I was, and you're okay paying a bit more over a customer build that you'll assemble. I'm looking forward to upgrading these components when that day comes. Update. As for upgrading to a SLI format, that is not possible due to the choice of motherboard used and case size. Overclocking the PC is made easy for beginners by simple installing the Intel XTU application. I went as far as overclocking the CPU to 4.9 GHz across all cores. Haven't overclocked the GPU yet, but will sometime in the future. Tested GPU with some ray tracing mods on Minecraft and it looks amazing. Able to run at 1440p max, everything in shaders option. This is the most cost-effective computer I bought. When the computer arrived, everything was not damaged and it was turned on once. And the performance of the machine is very satisfactory. CyberpowerPC really saved me a lot of time. They put them together really well. What's more, the professional computer assembly also has neat wiring. The RGB lights are perfect, and you can control the lighting with remote control. Called CyberpowerPC customer service before and after buying at your Amazon store page. Great phone service. Bought item and Amazon shipped it in 3 days, not a scratch on orange box. Everything was well labeled and setup was very easy. The only bad thing was both sticks of RAM was laying on bottom of PC case. Sad face. Installed RAM and it booted up no problems. In BIOS CPU fan setting for CPU water pump was set to monitor motherboard not CPU temps. So after 1 hour CPU was running a little hot. No problem, I fixed that. Side note. APEVIA RGB fans on water pump radiator are not PWM fans. Will not push proper airflow through radiator. I pulled the RGB case fan off of radiator and relocated them to other case fan locations in PC case. And installed Noctua PWM fan. Now the CPU is icy cold under load and your colorful RGB case fans are keeping the inside PC case cool under load also. Okay, so my mama Lays said never give someone a 5 out of 5 rating because everyone always have room for improvement. But you guys really nailed it on customer service. Just got this computer. Here are my initial impressions. I thought the lights were going to be hideous and since it's relatively cheaper I was willing to make the sacrifice. I was pleasantly surprised to see you can adjust the lights and make them subtle and even hide them altogether if you're looking for a subtle look. The comp also came pre-installed and well cushioned for shipping. All the drivers were pre-installed and I had it up and running in no time. Did I mention I also got a mouse and a keyboard in the package? Pretty decent too. Great value for money, guaranteed. The PC comes with AI7 9700 kelvins, Zotac RTX 2070 Super, 16GB RAM at 3000 mHz and an Intel 660p 1TB NVMe. I bought it when the price was at about $1.300, which was a nice price for the specs. The complaints that I have is that the fans lack of any filter, which means that it'll collect more dust over time and that it lacks any extra screw or cable if you want to add any SSD or HDD after getting it. I loved this gaming PC, it's amazing. Easy set and runs very smooth. The good price. A little better than PC Part Picker components as of August 29, 2019. Better if on sale parts. Reasonably good brands in my unit build. Good cable management performance. System is very powerful. Pushes many titles at 2K on high, ultra. G-Sync, FreeSync work great. Sound. Quiet system, even with fans on max. The bad. No GPU drivers or utilities installed by default. Firmware update was required to get proper CPU speed boosts working. No extra cables or screws to add new drives. The ugly, poor heat management out of the box, resulting in GPU-T. Edited the 8th of September 2019 *. I disabled my added fans and set the included fans to max, still pretty quiet. GPU didn't get above 78C and didn't throttle. Therefore out of the box, it doesn't necessarily throttle, so I bumped it to 5 stars. I still recommend adding a couple $12 case fans, see below for details. Out of the box, this is a 3-star unit. After a few cheap mods, it's a 5-star beast of a machine. Average of 4 stars. See edit above, 5-star machine all around. When I first got the machine and started it up, I was impressed by how quiet it was. After installing NVIDIA drivers, since only GeForce Experience was installed by default, I fired up FirmArc to stress test the GPU and check temps, using MSI Afterburner. The temps crept up to 84C, resulting in about a 10% throttle. Although the GPU fans were going crazy, the case fans were virtually silent. Removing the side panel dropped the GPU temp to 68C, so that ruled out the MSI cooler. I happened to have some 120 by 25 mm Noctua NFP12 Redux case fans intended for an Alienware machine that never arrived, so I installed them in the 2 inexplicably empty fan slots in this case, one on the bottom end. The bottom one went in easily, the top one required sliding the radiator down as far as possible in the oval mounting holes, and even then it was a very tight fit. As it's a 120/140ths of a millimeter hole, I would recommend a good, quiet 140 by 15 mm slim fan instead. I moved the radiator fan cable from the chassis header to the CPU fan header, and installed the new fans in the chassis 1 and 2 headers. The 4 LED fans are not connected to the MOBO and so are not speed controllable. There was a marked improvement in GPU temps, but they still crept up to approximately 78 C over time, and again, none of the case fans ever really spun up. So I installed ASUS AI Suite 3 from their website, and used Fan Expert 4 to max out all fans, which was not really that loud, actually. Furmark maxed out the GPU at 70 C, which was clearly a large improvement, but I still wanted automatic fan control. I did not try max fans with the default setup, so that might be worth trying before buying anything. One issue is that all of the fans only respond to the CPU temp by default. An HW monitor showed the CPU never got above 45 C or above 4.1 GHz. Some Googling suggested a firmware upgrade, which fixed the boost issue. Unfortunately, Fan Expert 4 will not control the chassis fan speed from GPU temp, except with ASUS cards, annoyingly. So I chose the MOBO temp header and built some acceptable temp fans speed curves from that. I still max at about 74 C while gaming unless I manually max the fans, so there's still some more tweaking to do and other fan control software out there. Honestly though, the default, normal mode is more than sufficient with the 2 extra fans. In the end, I use this with a 2K 144Hz 32-inch FreeSync LG monitor and it screams. This machine definitely hits a nice price-performance sweet spot, once a couple fans are added. Since there's little detail on components in the description, here's what came in my box. YMMV, GPU, MSI Ventus RTX 2070 OC MOBO, ASUS Prime Z390PR AM, Crucial Ballistics 2400 with heat spreader PSU, a PVIA PR. Membrane keys, seem reasonable quality. I recommend for gamers looking for a low-maintenance, high-performance system. I see reviews suggesting more cooling, but so far I am not seeing a need. The computer came in a box which delivered in good condition. After taking it out, the computer had no scratches or defects on visual inspection. The graphics card, RAM, Bluetooth adapter card and CPU were all correctly installed and fit in their place snugly. All the fans worked as the picture shows and it looks really nice. It worked right out of the box as promised. I updated the firmware for the motherboard because I saw others had issues with clock speeds. The CD with some drivers wasn't needed because ASUS website had all the drivers for everything. The graphics card is from Gigabyte and is a 3-fan style model. It has 1 mini DisplayPort, 2 regular DisplayPorts and 1 regular HDMI port. Despite all the fans in it, it is amazingly quiet. So no issue there. Now the not so great. The only issues I have are for the wiring, the power supply, the lack of ports for expansion, and the lack of sufficient cooling as a whole. So after I got it I took my HDD from my old computer and put it in the new computer, but there is no rack for it so I just laid it down on the bottom in front. I included a picture of that. The power supply is just a run-of-the-mill wires come-out model. Not a modular style which would have been nice. I can let that slide for the great price. The wires were tucked around the right side of the case neatly, but then it was nested in front of the power supply haphazardly. It was a pain getting power to my old HDD because of that. Finally, the heat removal is not quite enough. So what happened to me is that after playing some graphic-intense games the fans would speed up to exhaust the excess heat. 2 things happened because of that I did not like. The first was that the back of the computer got hot where the exhaust is. And by hot I mean really really hot. Like you can't touch it hot or you could get burned. The second thing that happened was that because of that, the rear fan would spin up to its fastest setting but then make this horrible sound, like the fins were rubbing on something. This sound made me nervous that it would break and the heat made me think it might overheat. I managed to completely fix this issue by taking a case fan out of my old computer and placing it in the top rear exhaust area where there was no fan. So now everything works great and the price was just right. Playing so many games on very high settings is no problem. I would have given this 5 stars, but the issues I described above I think are enough to take a star away. I can't give it 3 stars because it was all easily fixed. So yes, it works out of the box, but expect to do a little work to it for it to be close to perfect, but not quite. It definitely looks good though, and water cooling is a plus. Very easy to assemble and powerful for almost every video game. Cannot adjust fan speed, but everything else perfect. 2 GPU fans, Intel SSD EVGA GPU Team Group RAM Intel i7-9700K. So they wanted me to put a pic for you buyers out there, so I DC if you see my mess. So I received this beauty from Amazon, opened it up to ensure everything is screwed in tightly. It was. Benchmarked performance, checks out. I installed 4TB HDD, no problems. They tie and stuff the cords under the compartment next to the power supply. So for you techs, good PC. For you buyers not PC orient, good price, good PC for gaming. Hello friends, in more than a month to buy my PC and is too fast, everything works perfectly and makes no noise, does not heat or anything, excellent service. I got this for my son for Christmas. He's into gaming and like to create videos and make games. He loves it. He can play all the games he likes without any issues. We have had it up and running since the end of December without any issues. Was easy to set up and get going. Click link in description for purchase and more reviews.